To Berea now, where we have learned 6 of the city's firefighters have tested positive for coronavirus. Lynna Lai is live there with what we're learning tonight. Lynna, good evening to you.
Good evening, Russ. Yes, this is exactly one of the things Dr. Acton has been concerned about, that coronavirus could potentially cripple a firehouse. The city of Berea today confirming that 6 of the city's firefighters tested positive for COVID-19. Now, 6 out of 23 firefighters here in the city. This is the city's only fire station. So it is very concerning when you have more than a quarter of the department infected. Now, this is a sign outside the front door of the fire station right now on Prospect, warning the public that no one is allowed in the building unless there is an emergency. The firefighters who tested positive and their families are now under quarantine. All are said to be resting and recovering comfortably at home. Now, inside the station, there's extra cleaning and disinfecting going on. The city hired a professional service that uses commercial grade equipment to disinfect. Now, I did reach out to the firefighters union, which issued this statement saying in part that the union continues to be steadfast in our committed sworn service, and we are in contact with City of Berea officials daily to facilitate solutions to address member and public safety. Now, the City of Berea is also a member of CERT, CERT, that stands for Community Emergency Response Team. It's a group of neighboring communities who back each other up in times of emergency, which this would be one of them. Neighboring cities such as Middleburg, Strongsville, Brook Park, all here to back each other up in times of need, and they certainly will be needed right now.
That is great that they're backing each other up.